Well, anger has boiled over in the Iraqi capital after a hospital fire claimed the lives of at least 11 newborns. The Ministry of Health says the babies were in the preterm birth unit of the hospital and died of suffocation. Initial reports suggest the fire was caused by an electrical short circuit. The death sparked anger on social media, where many accuse the government of incompetent management of the country's infrastructure. Our Damon has spent a lot of time in Baghdad and she's following the developments from Istanbul. Our absolutely devastating news for the families of these newly born babies. What can you tell us about how it all happened?
Yeah, it's really hard to put words to the grief that those parents are going through, must be going through right now. This is what we know from a security source who was actually on the scene shortly after this all unfolded. And according to what he was telling us, the electrical short circuit happened in the wiring that was leading to one of the air conditioning units that was located inside the room where these preterm babies were inside their incubators. And the fire was apparently fueled by the oxygen that was going into the incubators. And firefighters actually managed to arrive on scene within about 10 minutes, but then they had to deal with the sheer chaos and pandemonium that had unfolded because there weren't any emergency exits for people to go to. There was no evacuation plan to speak of, so everyone was rushing towards the few exits that exist, trying to get out, and firefighters were trying to push their way through. It took them, according to this source, about an hour to put the blaze out. And this is why Iraqis are so angry. These types of short circuits that end up causing electrical fires, they're fairly common, and for years now, the government has been promising to refurbish institutions, especially the medical infrastructure. It has been promising to rebuild the country, and none of it has really materialized. And the Iraqi population, by and large, blames the government for this, and especially blames the government corruption for this. Iraq is one of the most corrupt countries in the world, and the people have really been bearing the brunt of all of this, taking to Twitter, some of them saying at Yarmouk hospital fire, negligence, incompetence, and corruption, a situation that leads to catastrophes. Another person tweeting at the Yarmouk hospital fire, Lord have mercy, even the infants in Iraq are not safe. And people are especially angered by this because if you remember, back in the beginning of July, Baghdad saw one of the single deadliest attacks carried out by ISIS since 2003, when a suicide truck bomb detonated in front of a large mall in the neighborhood of Karada. And yes, the initial explosion did cause a fair number of the 300+ deaths, but a lot of them were also caused because the building itself caught fire. The fire spread very quickly between the various different shops and the flammable goods that they were selling. But in that case also, there was no evacuation plan, no emergency exits, no way for people to actually get out and escape the blaze. And a lot of Iraqis feel as if they are paying the price for the violence, for the government's corruption, while the government continues to enjoy its life behind the fairly safe and secure walls of the green zone.
Yeah, a lot of incompetence as well. Our Damon, good to have you with us. Thanks so much. Well, still ahead, the doping drama at the Olympics. We'll look at why previous offenders are still able to compete and whether the dynamics will change after Rio.